Hey Texas 40K, my name is Brett. I'm known as hippsman on the forums, and I hope this is a first video of many that I'll be able to share with you. I'm going to do a couple of series of videos, hope to do maybe a video battle report with my son. This is my hobby space. Right here I've got my table that I built. I posted an article about that several weeks ago, and we'll be playing some battles here, but I'll also show you my workspace and some of the armies I've collected over the last 15 years. I've recently saw a post on the forum about some people getting into 40K and wanting to know how to play. And so I thought I might share just a few tips and tricks about making this game a fun game to play. One of the first things is having great looking terrain and a realistic battlefield. It's great just to have a tabletop and to put some books and some makeshift terrain, but when you can invest in some nice terrain, your board looks really nice and it makes it a lot more realistic to play on. The terrain that I've built has mainly come from the Imperial City box. And then of course, though I'm not very good at this, getting all my models painted. Man, I've got such a large collection of models, but the ones that I really take the most pride in are the ones that I've really spent some time in trying to paint and make them look, fairly realistic. Putting at least 3 colors on there, doing some basing. And the models are just a whole lot more fun to play with. I highly suggest getting you an army that you really enjoy and painting it up and just making it look realistic. Sometimes you run across a really neat piece of terrain. This actually was a limited edition Games Workshop piece of terrain back from several years ago. I don't know if anybody you've ever seen it, but it's a ruin. It was already painted and kind of put together. It comes in 2 little pieces for storage sake. Having adequate hobby space is always a good thing. I started out with just a little table and a closet, and after 15 years of this, I'm finally in a house that has a dedicated space that I can have my hobby stuff in. And we looked at a lot of different houses, and we lucked out and bought this one, and this had the perfect space for all of my stuff. I'll give you kind of a small tour of stuff. The lighting's not the greatest all through the room, but I've got kind of a Space Wolf army on these couple of shelves. Down at the bottom, I've got a couple of fantasy things. I've got the Bretonnian army, and I've got some Tomb Kings. Kind of got a space for some tanks that I really need to paint, but I've got several of the Land Raider variants. Here's where I keep a lot of my Necron army stuff. I guess that's probably my second army that I started collecting was Necrons. My first, and the one that I've painted the most, is going to be my Ultramarines, and I've spent many a years collecting them. And so if you ever play me, these are the ones that I actually have painted the most and spent the most time on. And I've got a renewed interest in them with the new Space Marine Codex, and would like to try out some of the Centurions. Of course, orcs were big in the last expansion with the Assault on Black Reach, and so I ended up with a lot of orc models after buying a few sets of that, and I've over time added a few things to it. I've yet to paint any of my orcs, and haven't really played them a lot, but they're fun to have, and I've used them as some allied attachments to my Necrons, and they have done very well. I've always loved the Grey Knight army. I think they've got some great looking models, and this is kind of the old pewter variants that I have and painted. I have not put together any of the new plastic sets. Of course, there's the Black Templar. When they came out, I kind of enjoyed them and painted up a few of them, as you can see. But they weren't very competitive, so I ended up kind of putting them down for a while. Got a couple of flyer things. Tau is another army that I've really enjoyed playing. I need to get a couple of the new models that are out, but that's in the works as we speak. That's also another one of the armies that I've taken some time to paint. I do have the Bane blade down there, which is fun to play with. I've played with the new escalation. I do have a semblance of a chaos. Matter of fact, here's kind of a preview of the first army report that I'm going to do. My son has been starting to collect some dark angels, and he got some for Christmas, and so we're going to take a look at doing a dark angel army against a chaos space marine army. So that should be a pretty fun battle, and that'll be something that is coming up next. One of the handiest things you can get if you're starting in this hobby is getting some of these little tackle box cases. So as I am putting together models and there are pieces that I do not need, I separate them out, and matter of fact, I've got a whole drawer full of these, and I kind of separate them out by army so that if I'm looking for a particular bit that I need, I can do that. I also use them for my dice box. It's easy to separate several things of dice into one case, and is very helpful in playing games. Believe it or not, one of the smartest things I ever did was actually free. I went to a local McDonald's and I asked if I could have 4 trays. I told them that I was in a hobby that could use a couple of trays for moving some things around, and these McDonald's trays have been extremely helpful. I'm grateful to the management that allowed me to take these several years ago, and I use them on a regular basis. You need lots of paint. And what's great about the Citadel paint is I've had many of these canisters for, man, over 10 years at least on some of them, and though they occasionally dry out, it's real easy to revitalize these paints with some water and a little bit of elbow grease and mixing things back together. You can revitalize these paints back into some pretty decent shape for painting models. Here's some projects that I'm working on. I got this for Christmas, and I did have one of the Storm Raven gunships, but I did not have any of the Storm Talons, so I got this box for Christmas, which I've already started assembling. I also had never played with Wraiths before, always wanted to, but I never did like the pewter models, so with the new plastic ones that came out a while back, I finally got a couple of boxes of these to put with my Necron Destroyer Lord, which should be a nice complement to that model. And then for Christmas we got our son the Ravenwing Command Squad. We got him a Terminator Squad. He's already put together his drop pod, and we also got him Azrael, which will be playing in this upcoming battle. So if you do want to get into playing this game and want to learn the hobby, all kinds of things that you can do for prepping your armies, for getting a nice table set up. But if you just really want to learn how to play the game, you just need to find some people to play with, and trial and error. You're going to lose a lot learning the game, but as you learn rules, you'll learn techniques, you'll learn strategy, you'll learn how to build an army list, you'll learn how to deploy. Just jumping in. For so many years, I just enjoyed the painting and the putting together part without ever really knowing how to play the game. And then when I finally got some models together, I was on vacation and found a place that had Warhammer models, and they said, "You want to play?" I really didn't know how to play very much, but I said, "Sure." And a guy walked me through how to play the game, and I fell in love with the gaming part of it. And ever since then, I'm less of a modeler, though I still love to do that, and I'm more of a gamer, and I love playing the game. I love the camaraderie of playing with other people, and I've been really enjoying playing with my son, which you'll get to see shortly.